The soft hum of machinery filled the command center of Outpost Delta as Commander Blue stood at his usual spot, watching the vast emptiness of space through the station's main viewport. His four arms moved smoothly across the control panels, checking the routine reports that kept the Galactic Council's border station running smoothly. After 15 cycles of service, he had grown used to the quiet shifts where nothing happened except the occasional trader passing through. Today was different. The alert came without warning, a sharp beeping that made his scaled skin bristle. The radar screen showed an unknown vessel approaching their sector, moving in a pattern he had never seen before. It wasn't the straight line of a trader or the zigzag of a smuggler. This ship moved with purpose, but also with a strange sort of confidence. "Commander, the vessel isn't in our database," Officer Green reported from his station, his antenna twitching with nervous energy. "No match for any known species or faction." Blue moved closer to the main screen, studying the ship's outline. It was dark, almost predatory in its design, with angles that seemed designed to deflect both sensors and weapons fire. But there was something else about it, something that made his instincts tingle. The ship was making no attempt to hide its approach. "Send the standard warnings," Green insisted, following the protocol that had been drilled into every officer's head since their first day of training. Unknown vessels must be treated as threats until proven otherwise. Blue hesitated. In all his years of service, he had learned that the universe rarely fit neatly into rulebooks. "Wait," he said, raising one of his hands. "Look at their approach vector. They're not trying to sneak past us. They're coming straight to our front door." "That makes them more dangerous, not less," Green argued, his voice rising slightly. "They could be raiders, pirates, or worse. The rules exist for a reason, Commander." The rest of the command crew watched the exchange silently, their various appendages hovering over control panels. Blue could feel their anxiety, see it in the way their bodies tensed and their breathing quickened. An unknown ship was everyone's worst nightmare in this part of space. "Very well," Blue finally agreed, though something in his gut told him they were making a mistake. "Send the warning shots. Standard pattern. Minimal power. Let's see how they react." The station's defense turrets hummed to life, sending 3 bright pulses of energy across the unknown ship's bow. It was a universal language in space. "Stop, identify yourself, or face the consequences." Blue expected the vessel to either halt its approach or change course. Instead, something extraordinary happened. The energy bolts struck the ship's hull and simply disappeared. No explosion, no deflection, not even a ripple of shield energy. The dark hull absorbed the shots as if they were nothing more than starlight. "Impossible," Green whispered, his antenna now straight with shock. "No shield technology can do that. Run another scan." But before they could, the ship broadcasted its response, not in words or standard communication signals, but in pure mathematics. Complex equations filled their screens, each one building on the last, creating a language that transcended spoken words. Blue's eyes widened as he recognized some of the basic universal constants hidden within the patterns. "They're not attacking," he breathed, his 4 hands moving rapidly over the controls as he tried to process the data. "They're teaching. This is first contact protocol, but unlike anything in Council records." The final equation resolved itself into a simple message that made Blue's hearts skip a beat. "Greetings from Earth. Permission to approach." Green's voice shook slightly as he read more data from his console. "Commander, I'm getting energy readings from their ship. Whatever weapons they have, they make our warning shots look like child's toys. But they didn't use them. They didn't even raise shields." Blue stood straighter, his scales shifting color slightly as he realized the significance of what they were witnessing. This unknown species had approached them in what was clearly a warship, absorbed their warning shots without effort, demonstrated technological superiority, and responded with mathematics and a polite request to talk. "Send the approach coordinates," Blue ordered, his voice firm despite the tremor of excitement he felt. and alert the Council. I think our quiet days at Outpost Delta are about to end. Captain Stone stood on the bridge of the HMS Thunder, a slight smile playing on his weathered face as he watched the alien station's warning shots dissolve harmlessly against his ship's hull. The bridge crew remained calm, each person focused on their tasks, as if this was just another training exercise back in Earth's solar system. Energy absorption at 100%, reported Tom from his engineering station. Their weapons technology is about 50 years behind ours, Captain. No threat detected. The captain nodded but kept his eyes on the main screen showing the alien station. It was beautiful in its own way, all sweeping curves and glowing blue lights. Different from human architecture, which preferred straight lines and practical angles. Send the mathematical greeting package, he ordered. Let's show them we come as friends, even if we're dressed for trouble. The Thunder was humanity's newest first contact vessel, though few outside Earth would guess its true purpose. From the outside, it looked like a warship, all dark angles and hidden weapons. But inside, alongside the military hardware, it carried libraries of human knowledge, medical facilities, and enough diplomatic supplies to host a dozen different species. They're processing our message, Lisa announced from the communications station. Her fingers danced over the holographic controls as she analyzed the incoming data. Their response patterns show surprise but not fear. I think we made the right choice with the math approach. Stone remembered the long debates back on Earth about how to make first contact. Some had wanted to send obviously peaceful ships. Others argued for showing military strength right away. In the end, they chose a middle path, looking dangerous enough to discourage attacks while proving themselves peaceful through actions rather than appearances. We're receiving approach coordinates, Lisa said, her voice carrying a note of excitement. They're inviting us to dock, Captain. Well done, everyone, Stone said, standing up from his command chair. This is why we train. This is why we prepare. Begin docking procedures, but maintain absorption fields at full strength. Ready the diplomatic package, and make sure the translation matrix is running at full capacity. The Thunder moved forward with graceful precision. Through the view screen, Stone could see movement on the station as various alien shapes rushed to observation windows. He couldn't blame them for their curiosity. Humanity had designed the Thunder to make an impression, and it certainly seemed to be working. Medical bay reports ready, Tom added. Dr. Wells has the first contact health protocols in place. No signs of any dangerous radiation or biological elements from the station. Stone watched as his crew worked, each person knowing their role perfectly. The Thunder carried the best of humanity. Soldiers who were also scholars, engineers who studied alien cultures, diplomats trained in combat. They were ready for peace or war, whichever came their way. Captain, Lisa called out, excitement clear in her voice. I'm picking up transmissions from the station to what appears to be their central government. They're calling us. Unexpected. Their language is complex, but they seem impressed by our response to their warning shots. Stone allowed himself another small smile. That had been the plan after all. Earth had learned long ago that in space, looking harmless often got you killed. Better to look dangerous, but act peaceful. It kept pirates away and made diplomatic victory sweeter. The Thunder glided into the docking position with perfect precision. Through the view screen, Stone could see the alien welcoming party assembling. Their four-armed, scaled forms moved with obvious military discipline. But he noted medical personnel, and what appeared to be scientists among them as well. Prepare the gift packages, Stone ordered. Let's show them humanity's real strength isn't in our weapons or shields. He turned to his crew, pride evident in his stance. Remember, we represent not just Earth, but a new way of thinking about first contact. We're here to show that strength and peace aren't opposites. They're partners. As the docking clamps engaged with a gentle thud, Stone straightened his uniform. Humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council was about to begin, and thanks to careful planning and a willingness to look like the bad guy while acting like the good guy, it was starting better than anyone could have hoped. Commander Blue couldn't make sense of what he was seeing. The human ship's interior defied all logic he knew. Through one doorway, he saw what was clearly a state-of-the-art medical facility with equipment even the Council's best hospitals would envy. Through another, he spotted a massive weapons array that made his scales tingle with unease. The two shouldn't exist together, yet here they were, side by side on the same vessel. "You seem troubled, Commander," Captain Stone said, noting the aliens' confusion. They walked down the main corridor of the Thunder, their footsteps echoing against the metal floor. Two security officers followed at a respectful distance, their weapons conspicuously holstered but within easy reach. "Your ship," Blue began, his four hands moving in a gesture of puzzlement. "It makes no sense to us. You have enough weapons to start a war, yet you carry medicines that could save millions. Your crew members are soldiers, yet I see them reading poetry and discussing philosophy. Even now, your guards watch us closely while smiling and looking relaxed." Stone stopped at a viewport, gesturing at the stars beyond. "Tell me, Commander, in your experience, what happens to ships that look harmless in deep space?" Blue's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of discomfort. "They often don't survive their first encounter with pirates or hostile species. This is why we maintain armed patrols." "Exactly," Stone said. "Humanity learned this lesson before we even left our solar system. We watched our unmanned probes, broadcasting peace and scientific curiosity, getting destroyed or stolen by various species. We decided to try something different." They entered a large room that seemed to be both a meeting hall and a garden. Plants from Earth grew alongside empty spaces clearly meant to host alien flora. The walls displayed both star charts and artwork, weapon schematics and music notations. "But why maintain such powerful weapons if you truly come in peace?" Officer Green asked from behind them. He had insisted on joining the tour, his antenna still twitching with nervous energy. A young human woman approached, carrying what looked like a medical scanner in one hand and a tablet showing combat simulations in the other. "Captain, the medical aid is ready for the cultural exchange you requested. Also, the weapons systems diagnostic you asked for is complete." "Thank you, Lisa," Stone replied. After she left, he turned to the aliens. "That officer is both our chief medical researcher and our tactical systems expert. On Earth, we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst." Blue watched as more crew members passed by, each seemingly comfortable with this duality. A security officer discussed art with a scientist. An engineer carried both repair tools and diplomatic documents. "Your entire species thinks this way?" Blue asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his initial unease. "We found it necessary," Stone explained. "Earth's history taught us that pure strength without wisdom leads to destruction, while pure peace without strength leads to exploitation. So we chose to master both." They entered what appeared to be a training room. One wall held an impressive array of weapons, while the opposite wall displayed medical emergency equipment. In the center, crew members practiced what looked like a combination of combat moves and meditation techniques. "Most species choose a path," Blue observed. "They become either warriors or diplomats, traders or scholars. Your approach is unexpected." Stone smiled. "That's our greatest strength, Commander. We refuse to choose just one path when we can learn from all of them. Every human you see on this ship is trained to heal and to fight, to create and to destroy, to speak softly while carrying a big stick." Another Earth saying. Blue watched as a young crew member demonstrated this philosophy in action, smoothly transitioning from showing alien children of a human toy to disarming a malfunctioning security drone, then returning to the children as if nothing had happened. "I begin to understand," Blue said slowly, his scales shifting to a more thoughtful color. "You are not warriors pretending to be peaceful, nor diplomats playing at war. You are simply prepared." "For anything," Stone confirmed. "Peace is our greatest hope, Commander, but hope alone never saved anyone. The galaxy is full of surprises, and humanity has decided to be ready for all of them. The warning alarms on Outpost Delta screamed to life just as Commander Blue was learning about human music. 3 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapons already warming up. The infamous red skull symbol painted across their hulls made everyone's blood run cold. Captain Red's pirate fleet had arrived. "Perfect timing," Captain Stone said calmly, surprising the aliens with his lack of panic. He tapped his communication badge. "Thunder Crew, Situation Omega. Let's show our hosts how humanity handles uninvited guests." The change in the human crew happened in an instant. The same people who moments ago were sharing Earth culture and discussing art smoothly shifted into combat roles. But what shocked Blue most was that they didn't stop their previous activities. They simply added combat efficiency to them. Multiple hostile vessels detected, Lisa reported, still holding the cultural exchange documents she'd been explaining. Their weapons are charging, but their shield technology is outdated. Standard pirate formation. Captain Red's gravelly voice boomed through the station's communications. Well, what do we have here? A fancy new ship having a party with the Council weaklings. Hand over your valuables, and we might let some of you live." Stone's response surprised everyone. He smiled and opened a channel. "Actually, we were hoping you'd show up. We've heard so much about the infamous Captain Red. Would you be interested in a cultural exchange?" The pirate's confusion was almost visible through the video feed. Captain Red, a burly alien with crimson scales and too many scars to count, actually laughed. "Are you mad, human? We're here to rob you." "About that," Stone said, still smiling. "Thunder Crew, demonstrate humanity's approach to cultural exchange with pirates." What happened next left the station's crew speechless. The Thunder's seemingly solid hull shifted, panels sliding apart to reveal weapon systems that hadn't shown up on any scans. But instead of firing, the weapons released what looked like small metallic bubbles. "What is this nonsense?" Captain Red growled, ordering his ships to open fire. Their energy weapons lanced out toward both the station and the Thunder. The Thunder's hull absorbed the shots just like it had during their first encounter. Meanwhile, the metallic bubbles reached the pirate ships and burst, releasing clouds of tiny robots that attached themselves to the pirates' hulls. "Those are our diplomatic nanobots," Stone explained cheerfully as Red's crew began reporting system failures. "They're currently disabling your weapons, engines, and communications. Don't worry, life support will stay online. We're not monsters, after all." Blue watched in amazement as the infamous pirate fleet was systematically disabled by machines smaller than his smallest finger. The pirates' shots became weaker, then stopped entirely. Their engines sputtered and died. "You can't do this," Red roared through the failing comm system. "We are the terrors of this sector. We are currently being pulled in by our tractor beams," Stone finished for him. "Now, about that cultural exchange. Humanity has a fascinating history of rehabilitating pirates. Did you know that some of Earth's most notorious pirates eventually became valuable members of naval forces? We'd love to discuss career alternatives with you." The station's crew watched in stunned silence as the Thunder effortlessly reeled in 3 pirate ships that had been terrorizing their sector for years. Human security teams, still carrying their cultural exchange materials, prepared to board the disabled vessels. "You planned this," Blue realized, looking at Stone with new understanding. "Your ship, your crew, even your diplomatic approach. It was all designed to attract pirates." Stone nodded. "Best way to catch a pirate is to look valuable but not dangerous. Works every time. Now, would you like to observe how we handle prisoner rehabilitation? We find that a combination of firm boundaries and genuine opportunities for reform works wonders." As human crews efficiently secured the pirate ships, Blue noticed something remarkable. The humans were already setting up medical stations to treat any injured pirates, and he could see education materials being prepared alongside the restraints. "Your species," Blue said slowly, "treats even your enemies as future friends. Everyone has potential. Stone replied, watching as his crew began their work. Sometimes they just need a forceful reminder to find it. Now, shall we continue our cultural exchange? I believe we were about to discuss human music before we were so rudely interrupted. The medical bay of the Thunder buzzed with activity as human doctors treated injured pirates while security teams kept watch. Captain Red sat on an examination table, his crimson scales dulled with defeat, watching in confusion as his wounds were tended to with more care than he'd ever received at the most expensive spaceports. Commander Blue stood beside Captain Stone, observing the scene. 2 hours had passed since the battle, if it could even be called that, and he still struggled to process what he had witnessed. "I don't understand," Blue said, gesturing at the pirates. "These criminals have terrorized our sector for years. They've killed countless innocent people, yet your medical staff treats them like honored guests." Stone watched as Dr. Wells, their chief medical officer, explained to a young pirate how his newly healed arm would feel stronger than before. "Tell me, Commander, what usually happens to captured pirates in Council space?" "They face trial and punishment," Blue replied. "Most are imprisoned on harsh prison worlds or executed, depending on their crimes." "And does this stop piracy?" Blue's scales shifted to a darker shade. "No, others simply take their place." Stone nodded and led Blue to a nearby conference room, where Lisa was setting up what looked like a classroom. Educational materials about various trades and professions lined the walls, along with stunning images of Earth cities and space colonies. "On Earth, we learned something important about cycles of violence," Stone explained. "When you treat someone only as what they are, they usually stay that way. But when you treat them as what they could become, surprising things happen." Through the window, they watched as Captain Red's expression shifted from suspicion to interest as Dr. Wells offered him a chance to train as a medical assistant. The pirate leader's hands, so used to holding weapons, carefully held a medical scanner, his scared face showing a hint of wonder. "You're not just healing them," Blue realized. "You're giving them a new path." "Exactly. Each member of Red's crew will get options. They can train in medicine, engineering, agriculture, or dozens of other fields. Those who choose rehabilitation will get a fresh start in human space, where their past won't haunt them." Officer Green, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. "But what stops them from using this knowledge for more crime?" Stone smiled. "The same thing that keeps them from stealing our medical equipment right now: constant monitoring. Yes, but more importantly, opportunity. Humans learned that most people prefer honest work that gives them purpose over dangerous illegal work, if given a real chance." They watched as more pirates began engaging with the human crew, their initial hostility melting into curiosity. One was already deep in discussion about starship engineering, while another showed surprising interest in hydroponic farming techniques. "Your people's approach to enemies," Blue said thoughtfully. "It's like your ship design. Multiple layers, unexpected combinations. You fight with overwhelming force, then heal and teach with equal dedication. We call it comprehensive problem solving." Stone replied, "Fighting pirates only eliminates current threats. Teaching them, healing them, giving them new purposes, that prevents future threats. It's more work up front, but better results in the long run." A commotion drew their attention back to the medical bay. One of the pirates had tried to grab a weapon, but before anyone could react, 2 of his own crew stopped him. They were already invested in their second chance. "See that?" Stone said quietly. "That's why we do this. In just a few hours, some of them are already choosing a different path. By treating them as potential allies rather than permanent enemies, we change not just their actions, but their way of thinking." Blue watched as the would-be troublemaker was calmed down not by force, but by his own crewmates showing him the opportunities being offered. The alien commander felt his understanding of humanity expanding. These humans were warriors, yes, but warriors who fought as much with opportunity and kindness as with weapons and force. "Your species," Blue said finally, "sees every crisis as a chance to make things better, not just to solve immediate problems. That's humanity's real strength, Stone agreed. We learned the hard way that lasting peace doesn't come from defeating enemies, but from turning enemies into friends. Sometimes that takes a show of force first, but it should never end there. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tense energy as representatives from 100 species debated humanity's place in their civilization. Massive holoscreens showed footage from the Thunder's encounter, the absorbed warning shots, the pirate capture, and most controversially, the ongoing rehabilitation of Captain Red's crew. Commander Blue stood at the speaker's podium, his scales shimmering with nervous energy as he addressed the council. Captain Stone sat quietly in the observer section, watching as alien species of all shapes and sizes argued about his people's future. "The humans are too unpredictable," declared the representative from the Warrior Claw worlds, his armored tail thumping against the floor. "Look at their ship, designed for war, but carrying medicines. They claim to want peace but arrive armed to the teeth. How can we trust a species that won't even choose a clear path?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through some sections of the chamber. But others showed signs of disagreement: waving tentacles, flickering colors, rustling wings. The Science Council's representative, a floating crystalline being, moved forward. "That's precisely why we should study them closer. Their approach defies our traditional categories. A species that can maintain seemingly opposite capabilities without internal conflict. Imagine what we could learn." Stone watched as images from the Thunder's medical bay appeared on the screens. They showed former pirates learning medical procedures, studying engineering diagrams, and even helping to repair some of the damage their attacks had caused. "They turned hardened criminals into students in days," Blue added, pointing to the screens. "Their methods are unusual, yes, but the results are undeniable. Captain Red's crew is already helping us update our station's medical facilities." The Security Council's representative, a tall, shadow-like being, raised an objection. "But that's what concerns us. Their ability to change minds, to reshape beliefs. It could be seen as a form of warfare itself. What if they turned these abilities against the Council?" Stone stood then, receiving a nod from the Council leader to speak. He walked to the center of the chamber, aware of thousands of alien eyes studying his every move. "Distinguished representatives," he began, "I understand your concerns. Humanity's approach seems dangerous because it doesn't fit into familiar categories. But consider this, isn't that true of the universe itself?" He gestured to the varied beings around him. "Look at this council. Some of you breathe nitrogen, others photosynthesize light. Some communicate through colors, others through electromagnetic pulses. The universe didn't force you all to choose one way of existing. Why should civilization be different?" The chamber grew quiet as Stone continued. "You see our ship as a contradiction, a weapon of war carrying tools of peace. But isn't that what every prosperous civilization needs? The strength to defend itself, and the wisdom to avoid using that strength unnecessarily." The Trade Council's representative, a collective of small floating orbs, formed into a question mark shape. "But how can we be sure you won't use these abilities for conquest? Your species seems capable of both great violence and great compassion." "Because we understand something fundamental," Stone replied. "True strength isn't about choosing between being powerful or peaceful. It's about having the wisdom to be both, and the judgment to know when each is needed." He pointed to the screens showing the reformed pirates. "We could have destroyed those ships. Instead, we chose to transform enemies into allies. Not through force, but through opportunity. That's humanity's real power, not our weapons or our technology, but our ability to see potential where others see only threats." The chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of alien voices debating this new philosophy. Some saw the wisdom in humanity's approach, while others feared its implications. The council leader had to flash the chamber's lights 3 times to restore order. Blue stepped forward again. "My station witnessed humanity's approach firsthand. They were ready for war but eager for peace. prepared for violence but committed to healing. They don't see these as contradictions, but as necessary parts of a whole. Perhaps, he paused, choosing his words carefully. Perhaps that's something we all need to learn. The council leader raised all four hands for silence, their ancient eyes studying both Stone and the assembled representatives. The next few moments would shape the relationship between humanity and the galactic community for generations to come. 3 months after the council debate, the observation deck of HMS Thunder was crowded with an unusual mix of species. Captain Stone stood with Commander Blue, watching as ships from 24 different civilizations moved into formation around them. Each vessel showed signs of recent modifications: sleek weapons arrays paired with medical bays, diplomatic quarters protected by advanced shields. "I still can't quite believe how things turned out," Blue said, his scales showing the bright colors of excitement. "When your ship first appeared on our sensors, I thought we were about to face our greatest crisis. Instead, we found our greatest opportunity." Stone smiled as he watched a former pirate ship, now repurposed as a rescue vessel, take its place in the formation. Captain Red stood on its bridge, his crew now trained in both combat tactics and emergency response. The ship's new name, Second Chance, gleamed on its hull. "The Joint Response Fleet," Stone said proudly. "Humanity's first real contribution to galactic civilization. Ships and crews ready to handle any crisis, whether it needs weapons or words, force or friendship." Through the viewport, they could see other changes their approach had inspired. Council ships now carried humanitarian supplies alongside their weapons. Trading vessels had adopted the Thunder's adaptive hull technology, able to look intimidating to pirates but welcoming to peaceful traders. Even the warrior races had begun adding medical and scientific facilities to their warships. "Your idea changed everything," Blue observed, "creating a fleet that doesn't just respond to crises, but transforms them into opportunities. Pirates becoming peacekeepers, warships carrying hospitals, soldiers training as diplomats." Lisa approached them, carrying reports from Earth and various council worlds. "The cultural exchange programs are exceeding all expectations, Captain. Former criminals from 12 different species have completed their rehabilitation training. The Council's reporting a 40% drop in piracy in sectors where we operate." Stone nodded, remembering the heated debates in the council chamber. In the end, it wasn't humanity's weapons or technology that had won them acceptance. It was their perspective on problem-solving. The idea that every crisis contained an opportunity, that strength and compassion could work together, rather than oppose each other. "Look there," Blue said suddenly, pointing to a new ship joining the fleet. Its design was unlike anything they'd seen before, a perfect blend of council architecture and human innovation. The first ship built jointly by human and council engineers. They're calling it the Bridge class. The new vessel moved gracefully into position, its hull showing neither the pure aggression of a warship nor the vulnerable openness of a diplomatic vessel. Instead, it projected a kind of confident readiness, prepared for anything while assuming the best. "Captain," Lisa interrupted, checking her communications panel. "We're receiving requests from 17 more worlds wanting to join the Joint Response Fleet, and the rehabilitation program has expanded to include former soldiers from worlds that have achieved peace. They're looking for new ways to use their skills." Stone watched as more ships arrived, each representing a different approach to the same idea, that being prepared for the worst didn't mean you couldn't hope and work for the best. The fleet was becoming more than just a defensive force. It was becoming a symbol of a new way of thinking. "You know what the council leader told me yesterday?" Blue asked, his scales shifting to thoughtful colors. "They said that humanity didn't just bring new technology or tactics to the galaxy. You brought a new perspective. The idea that contradictions don't have to be resolved. They can be embraced and turned into strengths." Outside, the fleet had finished forming its position. Warships flew alongside humanitarian vessels. Former pirates worked with council peacekeepers. Scientists and soldiers shared ships and expertise. It was everything humanity had hoped to achieve. not by forcing their way of thinking on others, but by showing it could work. "So," Stone said, turning to Blue with a smile, ready for our first official mission. "There's a distress call from the Outer Rim. Could be a natural disaster, could be pirates, could be first contact with a new species." "In other words," Blue replied, his scales bright with anticipation, "we should prepare for the unexpected." "Exactly," Stone agreed, watching his diverse crew take their positions. "And thanks to all of us working together, that's exactly what we're ready for."